Teenage pregnancy rates in England and Wales have plummeted, exceeding the goal set by the Labour government's 10-year teenage pregnancy strategy back in 1999. In 2016, the under-16 conception rates were down to the lowest level since records began in 1969. But why is it so important for teenage conception rates to be low? Well, in 2016, Public Health England said that children born to mothers under 20 are at 63% higher risk of being born into poverty, and mothers under 20 are more likely to have postnatal depression. The question is, can these statistics be defied? Dr. Sarah Johns, a senior lecturer in evolutionary anthropology, tested a hypothesis to find out if young women are more likely to become teen mothers when their future is unstable.
I found that women who lived in areas before they conceived that they perceived to be more dangerous, so had higher rates of crime, violence, they considered them not a good place to raise children, they thought that they were at risk in their environment, were much more likely to be teenage mothers. So the perception of a risky environment increased the odds of somebody being a teenage mother. The women that choose to become young mothers, because at some point it does become a bit of a choice to continue with the pregnancy or not, that if there is a choice, they are making that decision at a time where a lot of the time they've already finished sort of their education, they've already left school. I think it's, for an individual in a circumstance, having a baby younger versus older may restrict career opportunities. But in general, a lot of these young women were not going to have huge opportunities to begin with. I mean, that is the issue. It's the deprivation and the social exclusion of individuals before they become pregnant, not after they become pregnant, that I think is the real issue.
Lottie Lowen-Smelt found herself pregnant at 16 after finishing school in 2014. This was when teen conception rates had dropped by half since 1999. Lottie fell into the statistic of 21% of female NEETs who were teenage mothers. She doesn't agree that having a baby young can ruin your future.
Before I had my first, I was a bit not crazy, but I didn't really take care of my body. I would just go out all the time. I know I wasn't old enough to go to the pubs and that, but I would go just in a big group of friends. I didn't really have a sense of danger at all. I would get buses and trains anywhere and stay anywhere and not really think about it. And as soon as I even fell pregnant with Sienna, I completely changed my diet. I just slept. I didn't really go out. I wanted to be at home. And I wanted people to look at me and think that I was a good mum and think of me as a good person and not reckless how it was before. So I think it was proving a point that I could do it and I could make something of myself. But I honestly can say I don't know where I'd be if I hadn't had Sienna, because I wasn't in a brilliant place at the time, and obviously I was really down and had quite bad tendencies of being depressed. As soon as I knew that I had had a baby, it just put my mind completely at rest. I knew that, I don't really know what it was, but I knew that I had something in my life. So yeah, it was really strange. It just seemed to have happened when it needed to happen.
Professor Jenny Billings, former health visitor and teen pregnancy researcher, explained that not every teen mother lives up to the stereotype they're given.
I think having been a health visitor in the past, and I worked in an area which was considered quite deprived, with lots of poverty and lots of big families with lots of children, and there was an awful high incidence of teenage pregnancy there. And you could see that it really affected the mothers and affected the babies as well. So when I became a researcher and I had the opportunity to do some research around it, I grabbed at the chance because it's a problem, an issue that needed to be sorted at the time. And I felt it was a good idea to investigate more about why people become pregnant, what the services are to support people. And it seemed like a worthwhile thing to do. There are a lot of instances where young girls get pregnant, the families take them in. Very often the boyfriend is feckless and the lass might have had drugs problems or drink problems even at a young age. Suddenly being pregnant and having a family makes the young mothers give up their drugs, give up the alcohol, go back to their mums. The boyfriend is chucked out. And we interviewed them about a month before they had the baby and then a year afterwards. And you could see the transition of them. Very often the mums, the grandmothers of the child were doing the childminding, while the mums were actually going on hairdressing courses or having access to various other courses or going out to work or doing something, had really got their life on track. So sometimes a baby can actually help them to be empowered to get on with their lives and to jettison all the things that are rubbish. I think a lot of girls thought, gosh, I'm going to have this child all my life and I've got to probably, fend for it and economically. So getting a job is really important. So they decided they would go back to school or go back to education and get some qualifications, and that's what some of the girls did. And it was, as a researcher and as a past health visitor, it was incredibly stimulating, to hear that against all of the odds and the judgment, people were holding their head up high.
Despite the government's attempt to put off women from having children young, with fears of poverty, depression and financial instability, it seems that some mothers can overcome those barriers.